warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Balio Putra Mardika. It's student number 123231084. And in this video, I will give commentary about the video I just watched, American Back Cubes Map. So just let's go. So I watched American Back Cubes Map from a position that doesn't get represented much in this discussion, as someone from the third world who grew up inside the aftershock of those interventions. For people like us, this kind of video doesn't feel like uncovering hidden history. It feels like someone finally putting a shape to what we already live with. US intervention is not a distant Cold War relic, but it's a long war pressure that never fully lifted. Their handprints still feel warm here, maybe everywhere. It's like animal making their territory with urine. It's like US being all over our face right now. And yeah, in Indonesia, especially in Indonesia, I'm from Indonesia, anti-communism did not just appear out of nowhere. It was carefully cultivated through the CIA, through cultural fronts like the Congress for Cultural Freedoms, through funding, through Rockefeller philanthropy, through media, and an ideology dressed up as a freedom. We used to call it universal humanism, humanism universal. At least that's what they used to say to fight communism. The political spectrum was narrowed until certain ideas become unspeakable, like communism. Communism was not debated, it was criminalized, demonized, erased. Everyone who is associated with something they call Satan is slaughtered, beheaded, shot during worship, and tortured to death until their physical bodies are disfigured, and without mercy, of course. That mindset didn't end with the Cold War. It became common sense. You can still hear it today in how people react emotionally, not rationally, to anything even remotely left-leaning. Everything left, Red Star, everything, communism, socialism. And the video I just watched does a solid job showing how systematic all of this was. Seeing it mapped out matters. It breaks the illusion that these coups were isolated mistakes or unfortunate exceptions. They were part of a consistent strategy, a political control direction of other countries while calling it democracy. From outside, it might look like a foreign policy, but from here, it looks like stolen choices from the colonized country. That said, I don't treat the video as a gospel. There are moments where the framing feels too clean, too comfortable for a Western audience who want a simple villain hero story. And Libya is a clear example. I do not buy the self-portrayal of Gaddafi, and I don't think we should. He was a dictator that needs to be acknowledged without hesitations. But acknowledging that doesn't mean erasing what actually existed under his rule. Libya functioned, at least it was functioned. People had universal healthcare, education was free, housing was accessible, and electricity didn't bankrupt families. Workers and women gained material rights that were not just symbolic. Libya was not some utopia, but it wasn't the failed state it later became either. Those achievements were real, and dismissing them is just a dishonest. Then NATO intervened. Gaddafi was hunted, publicly brutalized, and killed by forces back from the outside. And Libya collapsed almost immediately afterwards. What replaced him was not freedom or stability. It was fragmentation, militia, and permanent crisis. For ordinary Libyans, civilians there, the promise of liberation turned into endless insecurity. That outcome didn't happen by accident. There is also a dark comedy to how the United States pretends none of this has consequences. The pattern is almost mechanical. First, Washington gets involved in a coup somewhere in Latin America, usually to stabilize things or protect its interests. Then, the economy collapses, violence spreads, and daily life become unbearable for ordinary people. And then, people there, those same people, do what anyone would do. They leave, and when they show up at the US border, suddenly it's framed as an immigration crisis. as if it came out of nowhere, like a natural disaster instead of policy outcome. What makes it worse is the selective amnesia the US did. The US acts shocked that people are fleeing countries it helped destabilize, then moralize about borders, legality, and national security. The cause is erased, the effect is criminalized, and the cycle resets. It's hard not to see the hypocrisy when a country spends decades reshaping other nations through forces and covert action like coup, then complains when those same nation citizens show up looking for survival. And that's the point. It's ironic anymore. It's denial elevated to foreign policy. And yeah, this is where my frustration really sits. Western narrative love to isolate dictators from context, as if removing one man automatically fixes a society. But they rarely stay around to deal with the aftermath. The cost is always paid by us, the civilians, not policymakers, not think tanks, not even YouTubers. And personally, I cannot help imagining how different the world might be if the United States had not spent the last century sabotaging every project that tried to put national sovereignty, social welfare, or economic independence above Western interests. I wonder what kind of political imagination would exist if the Cold War had ended with a Soviet victory, or at least without a single global power dictating the rules. Maybe socialism wouldn't be treated as a historical crime, and maybe democracy wouldn't feel like a threat to survival in so many places. This is why the video matters to me, even with its flaws. It cracks up on the dominant story. It forces viewers, especially those in the West, to confront that fact that their stability was often built on someone else's instability. It doesn't tell the whole truth, but it creates enough discomfort to start asking the better question. And honestly, that's already more than most political media is willing to do. That's all from me. Thank you.